Hello and welcome! My name is Hugh and this is my guide series for Hearts of Iron 4. Today we're gonna talk about naval deployment. So, let's get to it. Well, naval deployment functions quite differently from air deployment, which we talked about yesterday. And mainly this is because ships are quite big and can't really be put into reserves. Instead they need to either be in a port or out on the seas. When you are zoomed out like this on the normal screen, you can see your ports as these anchors, and you can see any port that has ships. Just like with the air bases, they have a circle around them. When you zoom in closer, they will show up like other forces on the map, like your ground forces, as these little squares, and you can see a ship mark on them to show what kind of ship they are. If you go to the strategic naval mode, again you can see both the square and the little circle around, showing that there are ships in this port. So let's have a look. We have a fleet over here, the Ostflotte. These are of course the German starting fleets, which have 2 battleships and 8 destroyers in it. Over here we have the Unterseebootsflotte Wedige, which have 8 submarines in it, and over here we have 2 fleets, the Kriegsmarine, which have 2 heavy cruisers, 6 light cruisers and 4 destroyers, as well as 6 submarines in it. So let's say that we want the 2 big fleets to combine, because we are Germany, we don't have too big of a fleet, and if we want a bigger chance for it to survive, it probably should be together. So we select this fleet, we hold down shift to select more than one fleet, and we select these fleets over here. Now we also have the U-boat fleet, but we don't want that to be in the fleet, so we deselect that one, and now we have these 2 selected. We could of course just go and set them to do a mission together in the same area, but we actually want them to be one fleet. And thankfully there's this thing called merge selected fleets. Now if you've been playing this before patch 1.1, this could only happen if they were in the same harbor, but luckily they changed this so that now I can press merge selected fleets. You can see this fleet up here was selected as the one to be merged, so any of the different buttons here for commanding it disappeared. And if I go into the fleet, you can see here that it is currently merging with the Kriegsmarine, and they are moving to that fleet. You can also right click to zoom to the fleet they are going to, or you can left click to change to it, and then we can of course go back like this, so we can use a whole day like this. Anyway, we can also unpause and let them merge. I'm just gonna go up to speed 3 to see that they are actually moving. Let's just see if we can do the same thing with our U-boat fleet. So again, we want to select our U-boat fleet, select the other U-boat fleet, and let's just merge them as well. And now we'll have all of our ships merged in 2 fleets based on their function. Of course, you could have U-boats in with your other ships, but since U-boats mainly rely on the fact that they are not seen, maybe it's not too fancy for them to be with those huge ships like this. So let's say that we don't want these ships to be in this harbor. We kinda don't want them to be exposed to the English fleets in case we should ever get to war with them, and we would rather move them in to this port. So how do we do that? Well, up here you can see some information about the fleet, and among other things you can see its home base, which is currently Weser Ems. If we hover over here, you can see that you can change it by control right clicking. So if we control right click on this naval base, we change it so it's now Ostpreußen. You can also see some information, so let's just set them to that port, and then we'll also change our U-boat port. Let's say that we actually want them to be over here, because we want them to have as much range as possible, or be in a port that's as close as possible to the areas that they want to move at. So again, we control right click here, put them in Westham, and I just sail them over here, and let's just wait for that to happen. Meanwhile, we can talk about some of these symbols here. So for example, you can see there is the Danish belt and the Kiel canal, which means that it can sail through here. There are some permission types though that if there is contested, they will say we control half of it and Denmark controls the other half and we are at war, then nothing can pass through. But for example, the Danish belt, submarines can pass through even if it's contested. So these explain the traffic, and one of the most important parts where this is a problem or a interesting thing is the Gibraltar Strait, because as you can see it is partly controlled by United Kingdom. So this means that as Germany it's pretty difficult to get your fleet into the Mediterranean if you want to go and help your Italian brothers, for example. And likewise, if you are Italy, you just want to make sure that some fascists control this part of the strait, and then you also make sure that England can go and bother you. Anyway, now we have our fleets in position, so let's have them do stuff. So there are 4 basic orders that you can send your fleets to. There is a patrol order, there is a search and destroy order, there's a convoy raiding order, and there is a convoy escort order. Under each of these orders you can see the formation spread of them. So for formation spread, it's kind of a number telling you how many of these ships, or what is the chance that each of these ships will be readily available whenever a naval combat initiates. So for example, a patrol has a formation spread of 160%, so it's a very spread fleet, which means that whenever they find something, there's a good chance that only a few of the ships will make first contact. Whereas if you do a search and destroy mission, then there's a very tight formation and there's a good chance that most, if not all, of the ships will be available from the start of the battle. The same is for convoy raiding, which are a normal spread, and convoy escorts, which is pretty tight because they're traveling obviously around the convoys. Finally, you have the hold order, which you can also double click in order to delete any previous orders. If you press it while a order is selected, it will just go back to port, and if you press it again, it will delete the order. So let's set an order. Let's say you want these ships to patrol the Baltic Sea. So we press the patrol order, and then we right click on the region we want them to select or patrol. Let's just make it daytime so we can see it a little bit easier. You can have them patrol up to 3 different areas, but they need to be in conjunction. So we could have them go to the North Sea, but we can have them go to the western approaches, but we could have them go to the North Sea as well. If you want to remove a zone, you just hold shift down and press the zone, again right clicking, and you can remove it. Obviously the more zones they are in, the more spread out they'll be, and the longer it will take before they can join if a naval battle is happening. Again, just to reiterate, the patrol and the search and destroys missions actually kind of do the same thing. The only difference here is that the formation spread, where the patrol order will allow them to find almost any fleet that sails to that area, but there's a big chance that only a few of them will be in first contact, whereas the search and destroy keeps all the ships together, which is good if you have a small fleet, but it also means that they have a harder time finding other ships. Then of course there's the convoy raiding, where they only really go after convoys, and if there are bigger ships they kinda try to leave them alone. And finally there's the convoy escort, where they will try to escort any convoys you have in the area, and only really protect against enemy raids, not really trying to engage any enemy fleets. So let's set our submarines to go and do some convoy raiding, and we kind of want to cover a big area in order to be sure that we'll catch any ships. So we do the convoy raiding, and we do these 3 areas so that it can cover all of this traffic coming into England from North America. We want to block all of their trade. So now that I'm on port, the ships will leave port and go to the selected area. As you can see, right now we see them on the map and we have a clear route, but I'm just going to speed up so we can see this. Once they actually get to the area, you don't see them anymore. There's no ships on the map. You can see, if I zoom in here, you can see that there are graphic ships, but that's not where they actually are. But you can see these icons here explaining that there are currently one fleet doing that mission in the area. There are currently one fleet doing the mission in this area. If, for example, I say, okay, I don't want you to do this anymore, I press the hold button, now they're going home, and then I say, instead I want you to do some convoy escorting, and I also wanted to do it in the Baltic Sea region. Then you can see now there are actually two icons because I have two fleets doing this, and if, for example, I had two different U-boat missions doing this, then, well, both of them would show up as this. So, then there's a bunch of different icons here that we want to look at. First of all, there's the repair priority. This is just if they are in port along with another navy, which of them get to repair first. Then there's this button. If you enable this, then instead of going back to port to repair, they'll just split off any damaged ships. This can be good if you want to make sure to always patrol an area, or if you want your U-boats to stay out and find or disrupt traffic. But if you want to make sure that your fleet is always the biggest in any engagement, then it may be a bad idea, because you can easily have a situation where half of your fleet are repairing when you get engaged by the big English fleet. So you want to be careful whether you choose here. You can also say that your fleet are not allowed to repair, you must fight to the death. Or you can tell them to go and repair right now. Then you can create a new fleet from these ships if you want to split your ships up. And if I just choose the Kriegsmarine, you can even easily move all of a different type of ship out, or you can just move the individual ships out. Finally, you can set the engagement rule, so you can say do not engage or fire at will. Pretty simple. The way you produce ships, you probably already know this, but this is under production, and you can see them if we control here. This is, if you ship click, you can see only capital ships, only screen ships. This is also I personally have had different understanding this. There are certain things that give bonus to screen ships, and screen ships are basically destroyers. I think maybe also light cruisers would be screen ships, and submarines are other ships. And you can also have these ships automatically join one of your navies instead of going to a port. And you do this by clicking this and then clicking the relevant fleet. So for example, I want my submarines to go to the submarine fleet. I want my destroyers to go to the Kriegsmarine. I also want my heavy cruisers to go there, as well as my light cruisers. And I don't want to produce these submarines anyway. So that's how you control your fleet. Obviously there's also a naval overview where you can see the effectiveness of your different missions. You can see what ships you currently have and the current fleets you have, along with their current missions and size, as well as the area they are currently in. So that was naval control. I hope you got any questions you have answered. If not, please post any questions down in the comment section. Hope to see you in my next guide video, and until then, have a good day.